Welcome, everybody. I'm here with Ray. I'm super excited to have Ray here because he's a founding engineer at MixedBread. And the reason I'm hosting this talk is because I've found that MixedBread is super helpful for me in a lot of ways. What we're talking about today is coding agents, but I've also got a client that compared their semantic search system to MixedBread just because MixedBread came out recently with this search cloud service. And they compared their production system there and they found that MixedBread actually just performed better than their semantic search and wasn't any more expensive. It was just a lot better. And so they're migrating over. But today we're going to be talking about how to use it for coding agents and largely for coding tasks. I'm excited for Ray specifically because I like talking to people who are actually like building it on the engineering side and the research side. And Ray's a founding engineer working on building it, so that's going to be super nice. I use MixedBread every day for coding agents. They have a plugin that like auto runs it and syncs a directory and all that. I actually like MixedBread so much I don't use it. I go and I just tell it to index everything I've got all the time, like every directory. I don't care if I'm in it, just index it all and sync it because this is really important to me. So anytime a new directory is gone, the first thing that happens is MixedBread auto syncs it. All my agents have context to it. It's incredibly useful. So yeah, I'm not going to talk too much longer. There is a talk on Thursday, which Amir will be doing. He's also from MixedBread, and he's going to be talking about it from the research side. So this is more on the engineering side. And then on the research side, a bit more about how it works. How does the multimodal image and PDF processing work? Why is it better than traditional RAG that everyone thinks of, like semantic search from 3, 4 years ago? What is the actual difference in how it works, and why is it different? What is multi-vector search? So please join us for that. But before I take too much time, I'll turn it over to Ray to get started.
Thank you so much, Isaac, for the introduction. Hey guys, I'm Ray. Welcome to my talk about mGrep. So the one that Isaac mentioned, which will index your code base and sync it to the remote store and make it searchable for your agents. And we want to see that how the semantic search will help agents in this talk today. And also thanks Isaac for hosting it. And yeah, let's start. So I'm Ray. I'm a founding engineer at MixedBread. Currently, I'm leading the development of a MixedBread search, and the magic behind mGrep is a cloud-backed search API allow users to upload their documents, which including codebase, to make them AI ready for agents. So my work mainly focuses on multimodal semantic search, building high-performance retrieval pipelines, as well as like efficient context engineering for agents. So previously, I worked at ByteDance as an engineer and did my study in computer science at EPFL, a university in Switzerland. Also, here's my ex account where I she posts a lot about what MixedBread is doing and how we see the AI space and retrieval space. Feel free to just see what I post there. So back to that, what is MixedBread is doing. So I can give a brief introduction about why it's relevant in this search topic. The MixedBread is a leading edge search company. We started as a research lab like 2 years ago. We built a lot of foundation embedding re-ranking models for retrieval, like they're open sourced. And our embedding model has 50 million downloads last year in Hugging Face. It's the second most downloaded models in Hugging Face last year. And it outperforms models from OpenAI and Cohere. And we also built MixedBread Search, which is like Claude search API, which users, developers especially, they can upload the documents, video, audio, text, image, and stuff without need to think about it. The MixedBread Search will just take care of like chunking, index, and everything, just make it ready for agents to semantically search through everything. And it's really good because based on the benchmark and the BrowseComp Plus, which is a benchmark from OpenAI on deep agent tasks, and helps the GPT-5 retrieve the quota, the SOTA in the benchmark. It is even better than Opus 4.5, which is a model released a month ago. So using MixedBread Search, we can just have the search performance for your agent task as well. So let's go to the topic about the coding agents, how RAG and the semantic search plays a role here. I think that for people who follow the AI space as much as we do, that you probably have always heard about that the RAG stat, especially this year. That yeah, I mean from like different blog posts, different companies, maybe every 5 minutes there's a new blog post about it. That's RAG stat. And I think that's what's your experience about it, Isaac? That's
Yeah, so I often see this where, in my experience, I think it's just a little bit of a misunderstanding in that, RAG is about retrieval, augmented generation, and there's lots of different ways to do retrieval. And so I think a lot of times when you hear RAG is dead, they mean like semantic search is dead. And there's a couple things for that. Is like first, semantic search never died. It's always been used, never stopped being used. But there was a period, I think, where semantic search wasn't fully used all that much in coding agents and agents specifically, especially for code. And and I think that that's coming back because of this multi-vector search stuff, which we'll show a little bit of, but you can learn a lot more about it in the research talk on Thursday about like what the difference is from that traditional. And so these semantic search things weren't that great at code, even though and just doing an agentic loop with like grep was a lot better, even though it was slower. And that's turning around. I think it was kind of clear that it was always going to turn around, in my opinion. There was just a few things to work out to make it scale, which they've done. But yeah, I think it's a combination. Like, it's never been dead. It was, not the most useful thing for coding for a short period of time. Um, but yeah, this RAG is like a much more encompassing term because retrieval is not limited to semantic search. And so I found that, and I'll share some blog posts about this, about my experiments. I found that this semantic search just makes my agents use less tokens and be faster. So, um,
yeah.
yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, that's pretty true because I think when people are talking about RAG stat, they were just talking about the traditional the RAG, the framework where you have like external separate system that index your documents, your Google Drives, and provide you agents trying to like answer some questions. But I think especially like this year that you see that agents like Claude Code, they're really good at using tools themselves, maybe using Grep, and they can just perform tasks almost perfect. And that's okay. Maybe people have this kind of belief that okay, agentic search is enough. That with basic tools, semantic search using in RAG is not really helpful in this situation because you have to maintain like separate index. Why not just like agents get their context themselves? But I think that as us, like we are like a search company, we're also using Claude Code a lot ourselves, like daily basis. We always use like for also long running tasks. What we notice, look at closely at what these agents trying to do is that there are like several problems with just grep, like the basic tools, basic search tools based on the pattern matching. One is like, as Isaac already mentioned, it's pretty slow because like the grep is only pattern matching. So agents want to perform certain tasks based on user intent. For example, user want to refactor the authentication flow of the code base. The agents might need to go outside and using grep to find authentication, middleware, credentials, like all these kind of possible keywords, try to match everything. And then need to create like multiple like tool calls. And of course, it will slow down the responses. The second one is like also Isaac mentioned that's more expensive because um, agents need to call more tools, meaning that need to output more tokens to call the tools. Also, if the responses, the results from the grep doesn't really match what the agents want for this task, that also have irrelevant tokens input to the model. And the third is that agents need to, based on the grep results, and decide how to refine the next query for grep. So it needs to jump from grep calls and need to reason between these calls try to get a better results based on like a refined query. It's more reasoning tokens as well. But like many people are more patient nowadays using language models because people using models not waiting for the results in like suddenly 1 second, but they're more willing to wait longer for better results. Okay, it's slow, it's expensive, but at least it will give a better results, right? But it's not always the case. And as us, like with long running jobs, we notice that the Claude code sometimes just say, you're absolutely right a lot, even though that it's not able to find the root cause. And the context window gets longer and longer, that the Claude code is more likely to say, you're absolutely right. And it's the moment okay, the current session is not any useful. So you just need to create a new session and with like really fresh context, and maybe it will get better. The problem like of this, you're absolutely right, is actually a context problem. That's also a problem from like pure grep, that this kind of basic search tool, is that um, with more tool calls, that's like more half useful tokens are stuffed into the context window of a Claude. So that the relative information, the user instructions, the intent of the task, then the tokens in the whole window will just get more sparse. And the agents won't be able to identify like, oh, what is really matters, what is actually just noise, and just make the quality is bad. So
Yeah, I think it's interesting because one of the unexpected benefits to using less tokens, because it's obvious like if you use less tokens and it has a more direct path and it has better information, you'll get better outputs, you know. Um, but one of the things that I found super helpful actually is when it uses less tokens, that also means it just takes less time, and that means like I have a quicker feedback loop, and I don't know, I get distracted really easily. So if something takes 15 seconds, I've probably got distracted. And so just a faster feedback loop really helps me a lot.
yeah, that's true. Like I think if you use like Claude Code and Codex, there's a different type of coding style. Like Claude Code is more interactive, so try to get like responses faster, so you can just try to fix it. While Codex is always like long running, and just output some results at the end. And I guess some people just get a bit annoyed if it's not able to just step in the middle. And I think it's the same problem with like slow responsive for coding agents if the search tool is not good enough.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
and so as I already mentioned that like MixedBread is a search company, that for us we identify the root cause of why Claude Code is not really working so well for long running tasks. Okay, it's the basic search tool grep is not good for certain purposes. For example, like when the agent doesn't know exactly what it needs to retrieval, like try to guess like the possible patterns. And what we believe is that like semantic search will definitely help here. That's why MixedBread we just build like, why not just build a grep which is semantic to help agents uh, do the same thing similar to use it similar to grep, but it's able to retrieve the context semantically across your code base. So, and that's why we built mGrep, but it's built on top of MixedBread Search, the cloud option that is make it possible to run it locally without too much effort. And so you with mGrep is very similar to grep, that you're able to provide like a query here, and but it's like not patterns, it's more like a natural language, which very similar to the intent of what the model is trying to achieve. And when it returns the results is a file path, as well as like the line numbers, the specific chunk range, as well as some similarity scores. And these scores will help agents to understand, okay, how confident this context is relevant for this specific tasks. So agents can just, based on the scores, also like the file path and the range, just read specific parts and just progressively disclosure the context without stuffing the whole thing into the window. And if people are interested, you can see we have like GitHub repository here, where we have like a detailed implementation, and you can see how we do implement it. And it's pretty cool to just try.
I'll put a
And
link to that in the chat so people can jump to it.
so and the MixedBread, like we use Claude Code a lot. We really love Claude Code, and it's probably the one of the best coding agents we tried. And what we did is like, okay, let's start with Claude Code with mGrep. We enabled it. It turns out it really saves 53% of tokens and respond like 48% much faster, and they give like 3.2 times better responses. And we evaluate Claude Code on like 50 question answering coding tasks, and we use the language models like GPT-5 as well as Gemini as a assembly of a judge to tell whether the responses are good or not. And
Yeah,
we
and
also,
I found the same results. So I'm gonna put in the I didn't measure like the what X better responses, but I definitely got about the same token and speed, and I saw better results. I wrote about this a little bit ago. This is actually what kind of inspired me to
yeah,
want to host them. So I'll put that in the chat as well if you want to read,
I
how it
also
worked
read
for me.
your blog post, and there are some insights we also didn't uh, realize from our side, and it's pretty interesting to read.
Oh, great. Thank you.
So, and as a comparison, we also like build a playground for people to try out to see that on the left side is Claude Code with Grep, on the right side is mGrep, and just to see that in the real time. I can show people about it, and I think, oh wait, so here we are. So if you click the link, if Isaac can share this to users, to people here, this will be great. So here we have several code bases that we found in public that people might be interested to use. And one is the React. This is like a pretty large code base, has like 60 million tokens. There's no way you can fit all the tokens into the model context window, which is perfect for our experimentation here. So I will just try one query here. Explain how the if using fact hook works and the common patterns. What is happening here is that we start two containers in the background. We are using model is like a serverless container service, and we install Claude Code CLI in both containers around together. And the second on the right side, we also install mGrep, the CLI tool we built, and we send the same query to two containers with Claude Code headless mode. And here you see that for on the right side that install the mGrep as well as start the Claude CLI. We also define a skill, Claude skill, which is a way to tell Claude Code how to use mGrep properly, because it's a new tool that Claude Code needs to knows. Here is it able to load the skill and also run that semantic queries, which is different from the pattern matching from grep. On the right side is using the grep, just doing the pattern matching, trying to figure like the different methods, different the symbols of the code. For the mGrep is that we built mGrep is more like complementary to grep. It's not trying to replace grep because mGrep is for semantic, while grep is better for like exact matching. So we just give the tools to agents. They can decide which one to use based on like different purposes. And it tries to use mGrep first to understand the code base bit as when it needs to, okay, I need to understand a certain symbol where it appears in a certain places in the code base, we'll use grep as well.
Yeah, and this is really, I mean, I think the people here get it because the chat says the side by side comparison is so cool. But yeah, I think this is something, I put it in the chat, but this is something you should definitely play with because, sometimes saying, hey, it's 2x better, it's faster, it's whatever is it's great, but like every vendor says that. Not every vendor gives you like side by side. So you can try it and see. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But you can at least give like an honest comparison yourself to see like how it works side by side and compare Claude Code with mGrep without even having to do any setup yourself. And then if you like it, you can set it up. And if you don't, then you didn't spend much time. So well worth trying it.
Yeah. So for this one, it's like on average, it's much better. But we can do another one later, but people can try it because on the different code bases also depends on the container warm-up. We have a slightly different results. But I think on average, it's much better. And yes. So for mGrep, it's like a terminal tool. So meaning that it runs like locally on your, is always you can use it on your local like laptop and just using like agents. So you can install the mGrep using the CLCL tool. And I can show people how to set up like on my terminal as well. And let's just go to my terminal. So if you're going to a directory, you can install the mGrep from this command. Trying to fetch the dependency from the remote. And for mGrep, because it's a cloud-based service, you need to log in first. The flow is like pretty like automatic. You just need to do this, and you can select your code base, workspace, and now you log in. And we can do one with the try to index one small code base like NanoChat from Kaparsi. So let's go to the code base. So there's two commands you can use. One is mgrep watch, which is basically watch the current folder, try to list all the files and compare with the remote stores. So right now it's synced all the files. We can add some, once it's synced, you will be able to see the files in there will be mgrep stores created in the MixedBread, and all the files will be just synced immediately, and they're all synced. There are only 51 files in the repository, but there are also some files are ingested before. And the indexing is pretty fast.
Yeah, and one thing to mention, like there were, you might have caught really quick, there were a lot of files, but they're not all just dumped in the same mgrep repository because they're based on kind of where they were synced from. And so, you can mgrep from by default, like whatever is in the current directory recursively. You could, mgrep for a different file path. And so there's a lot of metadata. So it's not, it's broken up and you can search for different repositories or search them all. So it's very nice.
Yeah, so like,
And
yeah,
oh, sorry. And
no,
I'll
no.
just quickly kind of one question. We can talk about it more. Someone was asking, they have 50 developers. Do they have a solution to index the code base once to reuse the search index? And what you'll see here is on the left is mgrep search store. But, really mgrep is just kind of a really convenient way to use it, for coding and for syncing and stuff like that. You can just create a store and have a store and sync whatever you want to it. And there's a really nice, API SDK, so you can set that up to do in CI, for example, or you can, set it up. It's pretty easy to use the CLI or the SDK. And so it's really pretty flexible. I don't know if there's something specific like mgrep, for Teams specifically, but I think you could set something up in, I don't know, 20 lines of code with their SDK.
Yeah, yeah, great explanation. As Isaac mentioned that the even though all the files in the same like stores, but they're actually using the different metadata. So it's able to like tell which file are different and also have some paths which is mapped to your local file system. So meaning that when you grab something and streaming, you'll also be able to do something like, wait, let me find what is available here. So you'll also be able to do something like channel chat. So under a certain folder. So you will not messed up across like different repositories. It's always just tracking the current root path. If you also provide a path, it's able to pick it up properly. And for example, that if you just mGrep, streaming will just check the current the path against the remote stores, and you see that dual streaming is able to like match that different the files, different ranges as long as similarity scores. And what is even nicer is that mGrep supports one flag called -a, which is answer. That's with this all these like different files that before mGrep returns, it also use OM to summarize and also cite the different parts of the snips. And so you're also able to return a summary to agents. So basically, if for agents to read the individual context, individual like the paths, maybe it's not able to identify the right one, it potentially put the context window. But with this -a, it's also able to just get a brief idea of about is this context relevant or this file is relevant for my questions. And it's a very context-neutral way we did to help agents to save the tokens and also to avoid context rot in the long run. So back to this. As I show you guys that you can use mGrep directly, like terminal, almost like grep, but also that we build mGrep for agents to use, especially coding agents. And we have like different plugins. And for Claude Code and Codex and Open Code, just can run the install Claude Code. It will just set up Claude Code to use mGrep properly to make Claude Code aware of the existence of mGrep along how to use it properly. And also the mGrep watch, if you run it locally, you have to do it in the background. While if you just run install Claude Code, that the watch command will be run whenever you start a Claude Code session and will be closed when session ended. Everything just happen like in the background. We don't have to manage anything, and Claude Code will just pick it up automatically. And it's also like available for Codex and Open Code. We are planning to add more stuff, more code agent support to this tool.
Yeah, and like to highlight, I think what's is plugins. This is a little bit of a soapbox for me, but like plugins for these, you should go and see how the plugins work, because I think a lot of times the people think of like, oh, it's this Cloud Code plugin or it's this Cloud Code skill or whatever, and it feels like mystical. But like if you go look, it's very, the plugin is really just running mGrep watch. It's using mGrep as a CLI tool, and it's giving it a little bit of a prompt. And so if you're like, I want to add some specific instructions to the plugin, it's very seamless to say like, okay, well, instead of the automated, I'll just add a prompt to my Claude MD file or my agents MD file and use. So you can kind of do it either way. And so you're not like the plugin works really great. It's seamless. You don't have to do anything. It just like works. Um, but if you ever need something customization, like, you know, it's very easy to use it as a CLI tool and add something into your agents MD and have a custom prompt or just like play around with it, which
Yeah.
is nice.
If you only want to understand how do you customize it, like Isaac already posted the GitHub repository we have for mGrep. We also implement how we really like configure the plugin or even the skill markdown files. And you can just get some inspiration how to just help your agents to use the tools better in general, just not just mGrep.
Yeah, and if you don't know how to do that, you should take my course. Shameless plug. So anyway, go ahead. That'll be the sales talk.
So as I mentioned before, that's under the hood of mGrep. It is MixedBread search. It's just mGrep is the way how we can make coding agents to benefit from the semantic multimodal search from MixedBread. And what happened on the ground is that on the hood is that that whenever users sign in or like start mGrep, that we create a mGrep store if it's not exist in the MixedBread platform, and the mGrep watch will just check your local folders as I showed you guys before, that it will just list the current folder. If there's git ignore, will just respect git ignore as well, and I try to match it with the remote stores and sync everything. It's regardless of what type of formats. You can just handle code, image, audio, video, and everything. Of course, that many people's code base doesn't have video, audio, but who knows? And like images and PDFs, everything's supported. And the MixedBread store will just take everything and make it searchable. When agents or users run the mGrep query, will just also query against the same store with some file path to narrow down the search space as well, and return the file paths.
So I guess what are the differences, or like, is the MixedBread store, is it like a vector database, like a LansDB, or we like what is the MixedBread store really kind of doing compared to something like that?
Yeah. So one thing that we do is that MixedBread store is not a vector database, but rather than a store for documents, for any type of documents which is able to be life cycle managed. And so once you can just upload any type of documents. So like PDFs and whatever, like text and code, that the MixedBread store will just start from like analyzing the file type properly based on different file formats. Of course, Markdown and code will different the chunking strategy, and needs to like get the most meaningful units from different files. And for different data formats, that we have like our SOTA embedding models, multi-vector models, just to take them at their native file types. For example, like text will be used to check the semantic text representation. For images, we'll just check the visual of the image. So meaning that it's not transcribe or like do some OCR on top of your PDF, but rather than check that what exactly the plot means, spatially, visually interact with each other, which is really powerful because the traditional OCR pipeline is not able to like translate this well, but like in MixedBread store is like visual based, is able to just tell that the nuances. And
I
yeah,
find
and
this really useful, especially as I get into like other domains. So like for example, I've done a good amount of work with legal companies looking to use AI. And one of the like really big challenges with legal is that they have a lot of PDFs that are contracts, and so there's always this challenge of like how do we use PDFs because that's the source of truth. Like, you can you can try and create a process for converting like PDFs to Markdown and then use them, which is very common because Markdowns work well. But with like MixedBread, it just kind of works really well. But it works with like images, which are obviously you're embedding images into like if you're building some sort of like e-commerce thing, you're probably going to have product images like embedded in, and being able to search those and look for ones that you know, not just for users, but like for yourself. Like I want to search through all these images that are of these different products and finds ones that have particular characteristics or particular types of background if you're trying to update them. So I find when I start working into like, specific domains, it just kind of I not having to figure out like a different tool or workaround to make it work really well with all these different data types. Um, this is really nice. So
yeah, yeah, I think it's like also something like mGrep that's the MixedBread search using mGrep using MixedBread search is just able to also help agents to like figure out what's the relevant documents even for PDFs. Like we internally also use mGrep just to grab different PDFs. That's our like CEOs and using mGrep to grab his like legal documents and the contracts and everything to ask agents to complex tasks, and it works pretty well. And I think it's mGrep is just more than like simple coding text, but also good for like exploration of like complex documents. So
We're sorry, one thing before we're done. We're gonna have some time for Q&A at the end if people have questions or want stuff. So now's a good time to like start putting questions in the chat or doing like the hand raising thing. So when we get to the end, we can either read the questions or unmute you. So think of your questions.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yes, nice. So like when we build mGrep, that's like many people that were thinking also, okay, we can also build mGrep like locally. That is, you can also set up like the whole pipeline there. But it's more like MixedBread search is already there that we can just use it directly. One benefit of doing this in this way is that first, it's like pretty scalable in terms of ingestion. You guys already see that when I upload like 50 files of nano chat, it's not too big. But the thing is, once I swap to like the mGrep store is already done. Like the ingestion is super fast. It's able to ingest like a billion files in parallel, regardless like how big your code base is. That's for React code base, like 60 million tokens. For us, only take like 5 minutes to index the whole thing. So instead of like putting your like laptop locally on fire just because you open the Claude code session on a React code base, and it's much like more efficient to do it in this way. The second is that mGrep is using like MixedBread search, which is powered by our sort multi-vector models, and it's different from like traditional RAG dense vectors. I think the ASIC maybe will explain it better than I do. That is very good for the complex corpus, especially code with very complex the dependency between different symbols, and which is like a single vector not capable of doing to comprehend the whole chunk into like one like vectors, and which might cause the like better quality of retrieval. And
Yeah, I mean, I think like the intuition is like why does this work better? And you get a lot more details on Thursday. But like the high level intuition is that like if you think about what is semantic search, you think of like I'm going to make a chunk, maybe it's a paragraph or a page or three paragraphs, but you're going to have some big chunk and then you're going to represent that with a vector, a bunch of numbers. And that's how it typically worked. What MixedBread is doing is I'm going to represent every single word as its own vector. And so there's just so much more data. Now, there's a lot of research things that went into making you do that because you can't just like 100x the amount of data you have and processing. But uh, that's kind of how it works. And all the quantization that they do, makes it scalable. And so I think a lot of the reason that we're getting some questions about cost, but all the quantization is what kind of makes it affordable.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, I like the cloud-based. I think it's a people have different opinions. Some people don't like that it's cloud-based because they don't like, sending their data to the cloud. There's been a lot of that. And you can, work on doing it locally. Um, and but like when I use Claude Code, I'm sending all the stuff to the cloud anyway. So yeah, I don't see a huge value because I can't bring the whole process locally anyway. Um,
yeah, yeah. I think the main idea for us as well is like we are able to optimize the pipeline from the beginning to the end. Also, that we're able to like just provide like better machines and then tuning the inferences for different parts to make it super fast, not regardless of ingestion or like query time, which is not really possible if we cater to like different like local servers. And also a nice part of like it's called for us that we want the content to be shared across agents. We want the content to be shared between different teammates, which is the future we believe for the agentic era, because it's a cloud based, and with the one store you're able to let if you index once, that's your cloud code, your Gemini and Codex can use the same uh, mGrep store. Like they're able to share the same like semantic search power and all benefit from that. Also, your teammates, if you create and people already mentioned that if you create like a store, then it's able to share across the different folks, and it's able to even for large code base, and you can just reuse this thing the code bases. And there are a lot of tricks we can do to make the teamwork work better in this scenario. And there's one more part which is like super interesting that, as people mentioned, I mentioned before, that's the multimodal. That I've never showed the multimodal capability here, but with mGrep you're able to do that. So I'm come back to my terminal if people can see that. So I already have this repository like folder called cats. So where I ingest a lot of cats image here. So for example, I can just mgrep set cat. So if you see that my cat is sad and it's able to like understand the like image itself. And I can also ask like angry cat. So yeah, you find a cat which is angry. Um, I think it's just like a small demo I can show people that is able to understand the images as well. Of course, your like complex PDFs, which might be common for, which is not really possible for Claude Code using grep to just find the information, because when I'm using Claude Code to check the different PDFs and needs to read either based on the name, if the name is good, or like just try to read it sequentially. And if the PDF is super, super big, it will just fail to load the whole thing into the context and just abort it. And or the request size is too big. But mGrep is capable of like understanding different modality with like specific page of PDFs, and the coding agents also able to like see those like complex data and put this into a context window, because it might also be relevant for a task as well. That's how we see the future of coding as well.
What I really like about it too is that like you could imagine with like 10 cat pictures, you could do something like give your agent the ability to like call Gemini and describe each picture and then like put them all back. And that might work for 10 or 15 pictures, but when you start having like a large code base and on all kinds of stuff, it becomes very quickly unmanageable. And so by using embeddings for it that are native and not doing this transformation, it works really well because it's really hard to know in advance exactly what attributes of the image are going to be important for your search. And so I think this makes it you know a lot cleaner for the multimodal stuff for sure.
Yeah, because we do see that the models are getting multimodal. So the Cloud Code or like Gemini, these models, I guess people see that the crazy thing of Gemini is cap 3 is capable of doing. That's the one shot of like whole React or like the website and everything. That they're just getting better and better understand different modality. But the search tools like used by agents themselves are not. For example, like if you only use grep to see the code base or like see your repository or folders, but you're not able to get the other modality, which is agent themselves able to comprehend, and it's really limiting what they can do, the possibility they can do. That's why I think, okay, mGrep makes so much sense. So, I mean, I think that starting from the beginning, we were having the job of the mean that the rec is dead, coming to the end of showing what mGrep helps agents to get the cost and also the latency and the quality down. That we see like a few things here that maybe okay, a Jenkins search doesn't kill the semantic search. So even the agents are capable of like get a context themselves, but they still need the better search tools. So with a good search like mGrep plus grep, the semantic plus the exact search is definitely better than only having the basic search, which is grep only. And what we believe here is that no matter like how agents evolve in the future, and no matter what crazy stuff they can do themselves, it's always a good idea to give AI the best tools. I mean, most importantly, that is the best search possible, because like during a task, like especially coding tasks, like 60% of the tokens are spent just trying to explore the code base and try to understand the problem itself. So search is definitely shouldn't be the bottleneck for your agents to perform. And I think that's my like feeling about like the whole mGrep thing. And thank you so much for like the listening to my talk. And I think it's time for some question and answer. And the people have any.
Yeah, so there's been some questions, so I'll go ahead and ask them for them. Keep them coming. We'll get to them as much as we can at least. But yeah, MixedBread's hiring. I'd recommend checking that out. It's a pretty cool company, pretty good people, and yeah, definitely stay in touch. Okay, so questions. We have a lot of data in different languages for our clients, like Arabic and Korean. How do you guys handle kind of that multi-language?
So this MixedBread search itself, also of course as well as mGrep, because using MixedBread search, we're using the SOTA model, which is also multilingual, not just multimodal. Like it's also understand the different languages like Chinese and Arabic, Italian, and we are a research lab ourselves. So we have a huge research team just training models and try to make it good for different languages as well. We're improving models like every month. We're just make it available to user directly. And the people, if you're interested, like see the multimodal, multilingual capabilities that a week ago, we all know a month ago, that we also have a demo called the NGA Art Gallery, which able to people can query using Chinese or Japanese um, against like the National Gallery of Art, different images. It just give the results and in without need to like get lost in different languages. So yeah, definitely it's multilingual by default.
I'm gonna put a link to that demo. I think this is the one he's talking about. MixedBread Gallery of Art. So yeah, maybe play with that one. Oh yeah, it looks like there's some example languages or example queries there in different languages. So that's cool. All right, great. Um, do you have examples of how much does it cost to index some open source repositories? Want to understand what the cost is going to be for our repositories.
Yeah, so definitely. So we have a pricing calculator on our platform that you guys can go to MixedBread pricing, where you can see, just try to check that, um, basically like we price per tokens. So for the text and also code, just calculate by tokens. Right now, our pricing is around um, like uh, 7.5 bucks per 1 million tokens, and we're working better to keep the price down, make the especially code use cases are more cost efficient. We are doing a lot of like optimization on the index, also like quantization level, just to bring the costs continue down in the long run. Right now, we're just having like this kind of playground thing for people to try out. Our pricing will be also updated, and the people you can also just have like estimation based on the price, the calculation. But we're also open to communicate about for a logical base, maybe we can offer some kind of discount as well.
Okay, great. I was just looking at this pricing page myself. I haven't looked at it too carefully recently. And so it's got the token-based pricing, but for each of these costs, it kind of describes okay, like a token is roughly 1.4 token per word. A PDF document's roughly one page of 2,000 tokens. Okay, so kind of if you don't know how much a token is, there's some small help text that might help as well to understand that.
Um, yeah, I would love to just quickly jump in. Hey guys. Yeah, exactly. So we are right now optimizing the code, and I just did a calculation on the side, ingesting the React code base where Ray was talking, and you asked the question. Yeah, and the React code base would right now cost roughly $20 to index. So it's over 6 million tokens, and we have some optimization for code, which brings the token price for code further down. So just to give you a rough number, and if you have really large code bases, you can talk to us.
Cool. That's great. Yeah, React's a pretty big code base. Um, all right. Next is, oh, by the way, I think that was Amir. He was founder of MixedBread jumping in. So you could hear more from him on Thursday. Um, Indexing and search latency is impressive, considering this is a multi-vector search. Any resource or blog on this engineering optimizations?
Yeah, so definitely so when we started doing research, we were super interested in the quantization. We're trying different ways of make the embedding calculation super fast and doing different quantization tricks. And we also have a lot of research blog posts about it. Regarding this multi-vector one, we actually going to release several blog posts from engineering side, also from research side, how we implement a mixed search in under the hoods, and some good tricks we can share for people to also use for their own retrieval systems.
Yeah, and Thursday is a research talk from MixedBread on a lot of, how this stuff works. So that one sounds like particular interest. If you're just getting started and you want to understand some quantization, um, I made wrote a blog post about quantization, which kind of covers how it works and walks through it. So if you're interested in that, I'll put that in the chat as well. But yeah, definitely join Thursday for some of that information. Let's see, React code base will be around $20. Wow, this is not expensive at all. So that's great feedback. Great. Cool. So we're pretty close to out of time, but are there any last questions? Whether it's directly related to this talk or not. Otherwise we'll close it down. All right, great. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks, Wright. This is a fantastic talk. I know I mentioned it a few times, but Thursday is another talk. We'll send out the recording and notes for this talk to everyone over email, so you can, have that if you want to review any parts. And if you have any questions on it that come up later, you can reach out. You can reach out to Ray there. His Ray at mixedbread.ai is his email. That's right on the screen. So grab that. Feel free to send him an email or try it out, talk on Twitter, whatever you want to do. But yeah, I'm really appreciative for Ray making the time. I mentioned it earlier. I teach an AI coding course. I hope you'll check that out. I'll send a discount code out when I send the note in the recordings. And I hope to see everyone on Thursday. So thanks so much.
Thanks for hosting it, Isaac.
All right. Thanks. Bye.